Hello, welcome to the first dot in the line video. The video is an introduction to a concept that I'm calling Coelo Divina. It's based on an ancient form of contemplative prayer called Lectio Divina, where you take a text and you read it. You allow it to kind of seep into you, and you find some words or a phrase that really speak to you, and you allow those words and those phrases to repeat in your head and your mind, and you slowly meditate on them, and then you allow them to speak more to you. So this is something that I'm doing as I'm painting. Before I got out and got into the process of making this piece of artwork, I found a text to read, and I read it a few times slowly, and the artwork is a response to that text. The text in this case is from the Bible, and it's Psalm 27. I'll put a link to it in the description. There's some lovely words in there, but the thing that really grabbed me was about safety and a safe place, and I had this sense of kind of a centre of safety. So I wanted to have something in the centre of the picture that kind of represents a safe place where there might be anything going on outside it, but there's a kind of calm, serene place that doesn't get affected by that, and it's protected. And maybe there's walls around it that kind of stop the bad stuff getting in, or maybe it's just, maybe that's the sense of peace, and then that emanates from there, and it doesn't need walls at all. And so I started painting, and started with the centre. And as I'm painting, I'm keeping in mind a few things. One is a sense of peace and safety and calm, and the other is right at the end of the psalm. There's a phrase that says, "I remain confident of this: I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." And it's just repeating this and holding on to it, that despite what life might look like and what is going on in the world, and whether there's wars, and whether there's pain, and all of these things that just make life really hard, there is goodness as well. And it's a kind of a reminder to myself to keep seeing that goodness, and a promise that it will always be there, will always be good. So as the painting developed, and as I'm adding things to it, it's an intuitive process. I'm just thinking kind of, what's the next colour, what's the next thing that I need to do, and it slowly develops. And as it develops, I realise that it's looking more like the end of the psalm. It's looking more like the goodness in the world that is visible everywhere, and less like a safe cocoon that's which is where I thought it was going to start. Is that I'm going to create a cocoon that is going to be protected from chaos, but actually what I ended up drawing was that, yes, there is a cocoon, but it is in the centre of a safe world, and a beautiful place, and a place of adventure and freedom and life and colour. And that's not something that came consciously. It's a thought that developed as the painting developed. I knew I wanted to add some bold lines in, so I'd started out with just acrylic paints and a bit of India ink, and after that had all dried and all the layers were dried, I wanted to add some really solid colours, so I took out some marker pens and did some drawing over the top. And yeah, I like adding the detail. I think it really makes it kind of come alive. And as I'm adding, I'm thinking, this looks more and more like a forest. It looks more and more like some kind of beautiful garden with trees and lush greenery, and I'm thinking maybe that's what my idea is of where that safe place is, of where God lives. The psalmist talks about God kind of living in the tent, the temple tent, but actually maybe my idea of where God lives is somewhere a bit different. I like walking in the woods and seeing the sunlight reflected through the trees, and I like seeing the streams flow in and hearing the wind moving in the branches. And maybe that's where I would like to be all the days of my life, to be with God and to live in the beautiful garden forest. This is something that's about the process of making. It's about the experience of living it, of being in the moment as you're creating, and then finding out what you learn about yourself from what you create. I'd like to invite you to have a go and let me know and let me see the results. Thanks very much.